Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining. We'll wait just a minute or two to let people trickle in, and then we'll get started.
Good morning, Jeremy from Cambodia. Good morning from Cambodia, but good afternoon in there. So nice to meet you.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
UTS-ISF Cambodia. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Kim Ho. Nice to see you.
Hello. Clear.
My name is from Cambodia, AMW Cambodia.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Pahala Cham from Cambodia, AMW consultant. Thank you.
Good morning, Juliet and everyone. I'm Ivy from EMW Cambodia. Thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Ivy. Okay, we might get started now. Thanks everyone very much for joining this webinar to launch the Climate Change and Inclusive WASH course. This is a course that the University of Technology Sydney and Institute for Sustainable Futures developed with an impact and innovation grant from the Water for Women Fund. And we're really excited to launch it today because we feel like it's going to make a really useful contribution to the fund over the next 2 years for fund partners in building and delivering their climate resilient WASH programs, but also for the wider sector, as we know the sector is engaging much more with climate resilience issues. We have a few presentations today from myself, my colleagues Juliet Willits and Tamara McGaw. And then I'm also going to walk you through the course a little bit and give you a flavor of what features and contents the course has. If you have questions at any time, please just pop them into the chat box, because at the end of the webinar, we'll have a few minutes to address your questions. So with that, I'll hand off to Juliet Willits, who will start the first portion of our presentations. Thanks, Juliet.
Great. Thanks, Jeremy, and welcome everyone. So first of all, we wanted to answer the question, why do we need an online course on climate change and WASH? There is millions of courses out there if you start looking. And the reason is that I guess we've come to realize that climate change is very much the new operating context for us, and that climate change heavily impacts on the delivery of WASH services. And that then means that we need to actually learn very quickly as a sector and across many different types of context. So we need an efficient way to do that learning, and online learning provides, I guess, quite a flexible way to learn. It's open access so that anyone is able to use it, and it can help us scale up capacity building in this area. So rather than training people one by one or in small groups, that a large number of people can access the materials in this course. Next slide, please. And as Jeremy mentioned, this work was funded through a Water for Women Innovation and Impact Grant. And those grants were intended to build from research processes and ensure that the evidence and the knowledge that was produced through those research processes is made accessible to a wide range of people, and that so it can be taken up and used, and not just remain in a set of reports or even in a set of guidance materials. And so the initial impetus to develop this online course came from the Climate Change for Inclusive Climate Resilient WASH research project, that was led by Jeremy Collitz and Joanne Chong, and including Tamara McGow, Anna Guerro, and others at ISF, and together with WaterAid and Plan. And that research developed at the community level methodologies to engage and understand climate resilient WASH. And so materials from that research project have been embedded into the online course. Next slide, please. But we didn't just, in the end, draw only on that research project. Over this last year or two, we've been involved in many different pieces of research and partnerships focused on climate resilient WASH. And so we've brought in many ideas from that recent work to different parts of the online course. And we hope that that will be beneficial for people because it gives a more diverse and broad base, including different country contexts, to build the course from. Next slide, please. And so the overall objective of the course is really looking at this intersection of three key areas. Firstly, climate change, how it happens, what our predictions are, and how that we think that's going to affect human society, and especially how it's going to affect water, sanitation, and hygiene practices and services. And a very important element of the interlinkages is a focus on gender equality, disability, and social inclusion, which Tamara will speak to in a little bit more detail in a minute. So the main objective is looking at the interlinkages between these three areas, how they affect one another. And we're hoping that this course can help develop skills to address climate impacts, particularly with a focus at the subnational and local level. So it's not so much about national policy and what's needed there. It's much more at the level of WASH programming and service delivery. And so we hope that it's going to be useful for actors working at that level. Next slide, please. And so at that level, the people we're hoping that will do this course, and I hope all of you who are online have the chance to work your way through it, is people who need to, at the local level, to assess and to respond to climate impacts on WASH. And those might be people working in civil society organisations at regional or program levels. It could be project managers of a specific project. It could be different forms of WASH technical specialists or consultants. And it could indeed be government staff, particularly subnational government, although we recognise that the course is in English and that will mean it's only accessible to some portion of that audience, and that it may also be useful to some national government staff who have oversight of programs at community level. And lastly, we hope that there will be students who are interested to learn and draw from this course. Next slide, please. So just a quick view of the course structure. Jeremy will show you this in more detail, but just to give you a broad orientation, there are 5 main modules. The first one will be just to welcome you and orient you. The second one is about an overview of really what are the issues that climate change puts forward in front of us that need to be overcome. The third module is about how do we assess those actual impacts, and both what they are now already and what we think they might be in the future. The fourth module is about what should our response be? What kind of actions can WASH stakeholders take? And this is both to ensure that WASH access is maintained and we hope improved, and that it's equitable. And again, you'll hear from Tamara how this dimension of equity and gender and inclusion are so important, given that climate change impacts different groups differently. And the last module is stepping back. What kind of broader institutional capacity do we need in the whole WASH service delivery system to help deliver climate resilient WASH? So with that, I'll hand over to you, Tamara, to continue. You're on mute.
Why the need for an orientation on gender, disability, and social inclusion in this course on climate change and WASH. So in designing programs and policies for climate resilient WASH, which we expect many of you are involved in, it's important to involve diverse community members in assessing climate change impacts and finding solutions. All people have a right to have a say in development outcomes and policy that affects them. So as Juliet mentioned, climate impacts are not experienced equally. people who are already marginalized are likely to experience climate change impacts most severely. This is because vulnerability to climate change is linked to multiple disadvantages because of systemic oppression and socially ascribed gender roles. So due to these differentiated climate impacts, voices of marginalized people are critical for identifying the issues so they can be addressed in a participatory way. Having diverse leadership has been proven to be effective in addressing complex social issues. And through including these marginalized people in community decision-making, they have an experience of being treated with dignity and respect. And this might mean including children, women, or people with disabilities in public forums for the first time. Through this meaningful participation that involves listening and dialogue, there may be growing awareness of the actual capacities and contributions of diverse community members, rather than maybe just the voices of elites that we've already heard before. And this helps to shift their position in society to being an agent driving their own development with perspectives worthy of inclusion. Next slide, please. Drawing on information gathered from a diverse range of community members of different ages, genders, ability levels, and occupations can inform new pathways forward for surviving well in the face of climate change, and possibly even being able to adapt in a positive way. And this approach pays attention to contextualize and place-based knowledge on the changing environment. Drawing on diverse sources of knowledge can help to ensure a nuanced and contextualized WASH program that benefits all community members with an inclusive outcome. Inclusive WASH programs are more likely to be effective, sustainable, and align better with the values of communities. And in this online course, we share examples of climate resilient WASH from research in various countries in Asia and the Pacific, and also from the work of our partners. But we also encourage you to think about your own local context and the people that are involved in diverse ways. So what are the benefits for you participating in this course? So we hope that you'll learn key concepts and strengthen your knowledge on the links between climate change, gender, disability and social inclusion, and WASH. Gain skills and resources to support technical and policy work on inclusive climate resilient WASH. You may already have some qualifications or some education around these environmental topics or from your own background, but taking part in this online course exposes you to cutting edge research and current sector approaches that are used in the real world. And importantly, you can also get a certificate for your professional development records, which can benefit you in your work. So I'll hand over to Jeremy now for the next part of this presentation. Thanks.
Thanks, Tamara, and thanks, Juliet, for those presentations. So now for about the next 10 minutes or so, I'd like to give you guys an overview of the course, what it looks like. We won't go into a huge amount of detail because that'll be for you later to go on and explore yourselves, but this will give you a good sense of what the course looks like. And if you're really eager, hold on, we'll share the link shortly to actually register and sign up for the course. So once you've created your account and you log in, this is what sort of the landing page will look like. So we're using a platform called Mighty Networks, which hosts online courses, but it also hosts sort of a community network. So it has this sort of feed that you see on a lot of sort of social media platforms in which you can leave comments, share thoughts with others, and see what other people are saying about the course as well. So when you first log in, one of the first things you'll see is this share button. So if you want to invite your colleagues, friends to join this course, you can click share, and there's a way to send a link to other people that you would like to join. If you scroll down, you'll see information from other participants. They might be comments that other people have left, and you can reply to those as well. Throughout the course, there are activities that will prompt you to share your thoughts on certain topics. and those will appear on this front page as well. But the main part of the course, I guess, the platform of course is the course, which you can find if you look over on the left side of the page here, and you click on courses. It'll bring up the Climate Resilient and Inclusive WASH course. And to get into that, you simply just click on it, and then that'll take you to an overview of the entire course, and it has each of the modules laid out that Juliet presented on earlier. So modules 1 through 5. So one feature of the course that we've set up is that you don't need to complete certain modules to access other modules. From the very beginning, you can scroll down and you can see all of the subtopics under each module, and you can immediately access each one of those. So the course is set up that if you want to progress through it and learn about everything that the course has to offer, it's set up in a sequential way. But if you'd rather just explore and skim around the course and see what resources are available, or if there's a particular topic that interests you, you can do that right away in this course, in this platform, and have a look through and click on anything, and you'll be able to access it immediately. So for example, if I click on this one, it immediately opens up the course page and you can have a look. Another nifty feature, if you're just looking for specific content or you're wanting to explore a bit, is the search this course feature at the top. So for example, if I type in finance here at the top, it brings up any course content relating to finance. So it's pulled up this subcomponent on financing. So if there's a particular topic that interests you, you can search for that. However, that said, the course is designed for you to sequentially progress. As Juliet mentioned, it starts out with a module 1, which sort of orients the user. It's about what it's for and what you'll learn from it. Module 2 talks about sort of the problem of climate change. Each course starts with an introduction, which I'll get into in a little bit more, and it ends with a little test your knowledge component. The test your knowledge component is not tied to the certificate that you'll get at the end. It's sort of just a self-evaluation to see how you went with things. As Juliet mentioned, module 3 is about assessing climate impacts in WASH. So this module contains a lot of interesting case studies, tools, resources, ideas for how you would assess or understand how climate change affects WASH. Similarly, module 4 contains a lot of useful material about how organizations can respond to climate change hazards. And a lot of that is broken across what you might recognize as sort of system strengthening building blocks. And then a final module about how to build institutional capacity to support inclusive and climate resilient WASH service delivery. So that involves assessing organizational adaptation readiness and understanding and changing people's mindsets within organizations. At the very end, there's this final test. And if you complete the test and get a passing score, you'll be awarded with a certificate at the end. So the final test has questions pertaining to the content that you would have learned throughout the course. So I'll jump in to a module just to get you to see what it looks like. If we start at the very beginning, it's quite simple. It's a go at your own pace. So you can take as little or as much time as you want throughout the entire course. At the beginning, it'll give you an aim for what the module tries to teach you or get you to learn, and an estimated duration of how long it will take. So you just scroll from top to bottom, and eventually you'll get to the next button, which will take you to the next bit of the course, and so on. I'll skip through over to maybe to module 2, which has a bit more content that I can share with you. So for example, this module 2, estimated duration is about an hour or an hour and a half. If you want to go through the entire course, we estimate it'll take about 6 to 8 hours total. But of course, you can spend as little or as much time as you would like. There are a lot of additional reading sources throughout the course. They're not required to, say, pass the test at the end, but you may choose to spend a lot of time reading on those resources that are linked throughout. And I'll show you a couple of those. to get an idea of some of the kind of features or multimedia within the course. There's a lot of images in here, sort of diagrams, for example. Some of these are just static images like this one. Some are a bit more interactive, like this one, which allows you to skip through slides. There's often links to PDF versions of the slides that are presented. I'll skip to this one, which will show some other types of activities. This is another moving slide one. And some modules have videos, for example. So you may recognize this person. This is Wayu from Planet International. So there's a few videos throughout. And a lot of the modules have these further reading sections. So in the further reading sections, these aren't required for you to pass any of the quizzes or tests that are in the course, but they're things that you might find very useful if you want to learn more about a particular topic. So this topic is a bit about the physical aspects of climate change. So it has links to some IPCC reports that we think are really useful. A lot of the course has a strong focus on gender equality, disability, and social inclusion, because we think that's a really important part of WASH programming and responding to climate change. So we spent a lot of time presenting material, concepts, tools relating to that as well. I'll scroll down to the bottom for another example of a feature. So throughout there's these activities, and some of these activities will prompt you to go to the course activity feed. So if I click that here, it'll ask you a question and give you an opportunity to sort of share your thoughts. So for example, this question is asking about, have you seen any examples of psychological factors that affect people's WASH behaviors relating to climate change? So you can click on share your answer or scroll down and share your answer here. And you can see the answers of other participants of the course. So for example, one of the people that piloted our course, Tazreena Chowdhury, has left a comment here. So I can leave my own comment, or I can also react to Tazreena, and I could say I agree, for example, or provide some more information about that. And these answers also feed into the course feed that you So there's a lot more material in here. There's heaps of resources that I really encourage you to explore quite a bit. As I said, it'll take about 6 to 8 hours to finish the course. But if you choose to read a lot of the additional reading materials, you'll find heaps and heaps more that you can read about there. So with that, I think we can maybe share the links to the course now. If we could, I'll stop sharing my screen here, and we'll put up a slide now that has the QR code. So if you'd like to register for the course right now, you can either scan your screen in that QR code, or also in the chat box, I believe we've just posted a link to the course. So please go ahead and register now. The course should be live and open and ready for anyone to take. And as I mentioned, when you land on that opening page, there's a share button. So if you have coworkers or colleagues or anyone else that you know that might be interested, please click the share button and send it on to them. And eventually we'll be promoting this a bit more on social media throughout the sector. I'd also like to say, in addition to this course, the University of Technology Sydney Institute for Sustainable Futures would like to offer blended learning approaches, in which we have experts that will work with your organization to do capacity building and training around this course, using the course content, but complementing it with live lectures or trainings. Although the course itself is free, if we want to have, if you're interested to have an organizational training, please get in touch with myself or Juliet at ISF, and we can discuss options. There would be a cost associated with having this live blended learning component, but it's something that we would tailor specifically to your organization's needs, so that you would have the course, but you'd also have a live tailored learning experience for your organization as well. So we have a bit of time now, about 5 minutes left before the end of the hour. Maybe we'll go to questions now. Juliet, I think, has been monitoring the chat box. Juliet, are there any questions for us to react to?
Yep, so there's one that's about a query of whether they can get expert opinion whilst doing the course. Do you want to explain a little bit how that would work?
If that would be our expert opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this function where if people want to ask questions, as you've seen throughout the modules, at the bottom of each module, you can enter in your thoughts. So if you have questions, we'll be monitoring the course periodically as people are taking it, and we can try to react and respond to people's questions. The other option, as I mentioned, is that blended learning approach, whereas if your entire organization wanted to work with us as experts to do a training, that would be sort of an additional approach that we could take. Is there anything you would like to add to that, Juliet?
Yep, that sounds
good. Thanks.
And as Jeremy said earlier, your peers can also help answer questions. Yeah, I mean, all of this is also about helping cross-learning between people in different contexts. So we're very happy for other people to answer each other's questions, not just expert knowledge. So there's another question here from Zara about whether we're going to update the content with new information or update it on a specific basis. And explain plans around that?
Yeah, good question, Zara. I think one thing we can certainly do is add more resources as they become available. The course is quite comprehensive and touches on lots of different areas. So as more resources develop, it's easy enough in that further reading section for us to add more content on the bottom that people can refer to. I think what's less likely is for us to do more write-ups and sort of descriptions and interactive multimedia around the new content, but we can certainly add it so that it's sort of a developing library of resources.
Great. So we also already had a question around whether there's a certificate, and we've responded that there is. And then there's a question about whether there are plans to expand to other languages.
Yeah, I'll take that one. I guess currently there is not. If funding opportunities arise, for example, if there's anyone that's really keen to have it put into another language, I think that's something that we'd be happy to do. Translation costs can be a bit significant, and there's a bit of transaction times getting like the videos, for example, updated. I think it's something we'd be open to, but there would need to be a funding opportunity associated with it.
Right. So I think
great. If there's no more questions, thanks so much, everyone, for joining. Hope you really enjoy the course. At the very end, there's an email address if you want to provide feedback, and we'd be really, really happy to hear how you go with it. If you want to send feedback. So there's one late question coming in. Can we revisit content once the course has been completed? Yes, it's always live. Even after you've passed the final test, you can always come back and use it as sort of reference material if you want to come back and get sort of the library resources, for example, that you'd like to use. All right, thanks everyone. Thanks Julia and Tamara as well for being my teammates on the project. And she couldn't make it here today, but Jess MacArthur was really instrumental in designing the graphic design and the layout and the formatting for the course. So thanks to Jess MacArthur for working on that, and all our peer reviewers who provided feedback.
Yeah, and thanks to the support from the Water4 Women Fund as well that made this possible. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great
Bye-bye.
work. Thank you, everyone. Bye.